work together with all of you, property owners, neighbors, and architects, to continue the tradition that was established nearly 40 years ago in this community. That tradition is a review process that allows community members to work together to preserve the qualities and unique character that make Lake Forest a special community. The City of Lake Forest is committed to conducting open and democratic meetings to achieve that goal. Meeting procedures have been adopted by the Commission. A copy of the procedures is available in the back of the room and on each agenda. As always, it is the intent of the Commission to help manage the development and growth of the City of Lake Forest with a keen sense of preserving the historic structures and open space in the city for all its present and future residents. Our goal is to move each petition before us tonight through the review process as quickly as possible, while balancing the interests of the petitioners, neighboring property owners, and the community, and the larger community. My name's Bill Ransom. I'm acting chairman this evening for Kurt Peretz, who is unable to be with us. I'd ask that the other commissioners identify themselves.
Jim Preschlack.
John Travers.
Mary Ellen Swenson.
Robert Elfie.
And for the city staff this evening?
Megan Newman.
Kathy Cerniak.
Okay. The first item on our agenda this evening is approval of the minutes for March 20, 2013 meeting which I did not attend. Did all the commissioners get a chance to review the minutes, and do they have any comments or changes?
I was not on the board at that time.
No? It's okay.
I was not at the meeting.
I wasn't at the meeting.
None of us were at the meeting.
I was at the meeting and I reviewed them.
And how do they look?
They seem to catch the gist of the conversations, as I
Okay,
recall.
can we move forward with that then? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moves.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, well, that was easy enough. The next agenda item is the continued consideration of a certificate of appropriateness for an addition and alteration to the residence at 365 East Wesley Road, and a building scale variance is requested. Is the petitioner ready for his presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Step up, identify yourself.
My name is Chuck Bennett. I'm with CBJ Architects. And find where to run the slideshow.
While you're getting ready, I just want to ask the commissioners if there's any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications. Okay, seeing none, we're good to go.
Chuck, along the top, there's a slideshow button.
Yeah, it's what I'm looking for. I don't see it for some reason. Oh, I'm good. All right, there we go. Sorry. Thank you. Chuck Bennett with CBJ Architects, and we are here. We were here back in May, and we presented two projects basically on the same parcel of properties. One got approved. One we were asked to revisit certain elements, and there was a focus of three main elements that we are going to.
Mr. Bennett, if you could speak into the microphone that's up there, that would
Sorry,
be great.
thank you. So there's a focus on three main elements that we are going to we're going to focus on today. I will just start a little bit of the history of the project. Project was built and was designed by Stanley Anderson back in the late 1930s as a compound, basically, on the property. There's three structures on the property. The main house today that we're going to be talking about is the 365 Wesley address, which was the main house for the Clows. They also built a secondary house which faced the main house, ergo the name Twin Doors, which was built for their children. There was a third house within the area for basically a servant's house, a two-bedroom servant's house. Our proposal here on our goal at this meeting and for the whole property is to preserve the historic nature of the property, and we think the great comments that we got at the meeting last time made us revisit certain aspects of the project, which we think have greatly enhanced what our original proposal was. We also engaged consultation with Paul Bergman, who is basically the archive holder of all of Stanley Anderson's works. So, and we have very favorable response from Mr. Bergman as well on what we are preparing to show you tonight. So our decision since the May 30th meeting, the three main elements that we're asked to revisit was a porch enclosure, windows in the kitchen, and a west-facing dormer. As that evolved, those elements evolved, we evolved other elements of the design which we think further enhanced it, which is a door accessing the kitchen eating area. There's an enclosed existing porch at the southeast corner that we modified a little bit, and then we added some shutters on some dining room windows, which we were asked to do. I'm going to start with the porch enclosure and how we came about modifications on that. The floor plan shows the area of the porch enclosure at the lower left-hand corner. These are current photographs of how that looks today. The west upper left corner is the west elevation. The south elevation, I'm sorry, the west elevation, yeah, the porch elevation on the other side is the south elevation, and then the two views on the bottom are actually looking from the street to the porch. You can't see a whole lot, but I just wanted to include those pictures as it was. Now, our previous submittal showed some what we were trying to achieve. Let's see, is that working? I'm going to talk through it. What we were trying to look to achieve on the area of the porch was copying the architectural, the window to the above the double garage, above the big garage door. There is an existing window that we were looking at originally mimicking and pushing those windows and copying over to enclose the porch. We were asked to revisit that design decision to see if we can come up with a more appropriate solution for the project. And our inspiration, and it's funny, I was talking with the owner, it says sometimes the solution that you're looking for has been in front of you the whole time and you just don't see it because you've been looking at something for so long. This is a cutaway of the existing drawing from Stanley Anderson, and there is intent up above. You could see the elevation, the western elevation of our project, and directly above it is an elevation of a storm sash that was intended to enclose those openings. And we don't know if they were ever done. There's no evidence of that on site. So what inspired us to do is to take that element and incorporate that into our design. And this elevation thusly shows it again. Though you can see that the bottom left-hand corner is the west elevation. Now the existing porch has iron railings, which we are going to maintain. So those will be operable doors, which will open into the space. And then the other elevation on the north and the far right-hand side, again, you can see is enclosing it. So all four openings that are currently there are going to take on the aspect of the French door sashes, which were the original design intent from Mr. Anderson. The kitchen windows, we were also asked to revisit. The area that we're looking at is again highlighted on the floor plan. Photographs of the kitchen windows on the left-hand side. I did include the porch on the other side, which is the southeast porch, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. Our original proposal had a bay window incorporated, which we were looking to mimic an existing bay window, which is the photograph on the right. We were again asked to revisit the bay window aspect to see what we would come up with. Both on this design and the other design, I haven't bulked up the presentation, but I do have slides at the end that shows a progression of numerous studies that we had done. If you're interested in seeing those, you can just let me know. So the new south elevation, and this one we probably had about 10 different ways of looking at it, and we actually did engage the opinion of Mr. Bergman as to how, how we felt that might be handled the best. And the two existing windows that are there, again, the whole premise of the modification was to bring more light into the existing kitchen space. Existing kitchen space has two sinks, and the windows which are positioned in the room, you look right into a wall, where the sinks are. So we wanted to open up the view to the beautiful backyard as it is. So what we are proposing is to put two identical windows between the two existing windows that are currently there, thus opening up the view in the backyard. The other item that was we were asked to definitely take a look at was the west-facing dormer, which is a second-floor dormer, which was not originally to the house. It was added on at a later time, and it was added on quite poorly, as you can see by the elevation there. Just very nondescript, big band of windows that we're looking at modifying. Our original proposal was to eliminate the picture window in the middle and basically keep the other windows the same way. We were going to replace the windows but keep the same context of the windows. We were again asked to revisit that. Additionally, you'll note down below those windows, you'll see on the first floor, which is the dining room space, there's two windows without shutters. The original drawing had shutters on it, so we are proposing to put new shutters on that, which you see by this elevation. And we've changed the scale on those windows. We've created two double-hung windows molded together, which have flanking shutters on that in all three positions, which we definitely think brings that elevation into a much better scale than what was previously proposed. Similarly, I was going to mention to you some of the other aspects on the project that we've kind of readdressed here. On the far right-hand corner, at the porch element, we are again going to incorporate the storm sash type of doors onto that elevation in lieu of some frame windows which we had before. We again think that helps tie together the whole design of the building. I'm going to back up a little bit and bring another door into aspect. Similarly, the doors that access into the kitchen space, which is to the right of the band of windows which we're proposing for the kitchen, you'll see again a pair of French doors there. Again, the same design doors that we're incorporating on the screen porch. We want to again help tie the design together with that element. Similarly, you'll see on the far right hand, which is the existing enclosed porch, again bringing in those same design elements, those same door elements to tie everything together. This is just an elevation on the east elevation. Nothing on there changes other than, again, the screen porch on the far left, which is the same doors, doors as we're wrapping the rest of the screen porch on, which is again a true divided light door with raised panel, which is that storm door. Just mention a little bit. Here's some testimony that we had from Mr. Paul Bergman. I'll just read it to you. It says, "Thank you for sending me your proposed drawings for alterations to twin doors. I think the plans you have drawn are very sensitive to the existing house and to the Stanley D. Anderson style. The house is one of Stanley's best of a style of the firm called Country Georgian, which was a style name that the firm created to reflect the Georgian and colonial roots of very custom designed homes in the 1930s and 1940s. Country Georgian also meant living a very elegant and luxurious, yet remaining unpretentious and understated lifestyle. By incorporating the French doors in the master suite and the service area, you are following Stanley's concepts of elegant living in a relaxed yet luxurious environment. I'm very pleased with what you've done with the porch. While it is difficult to see the porch go, modern families seem to need the interior space for family areas, which is definitely the case here. I approve of your keeping the columns, pilasters, and wrought iron rails and placing the French doors in the back of the opening. I think it's a nice solution. The strip windows over the kitchen sink is a realistic solution to the family needs, and the awful dormer modifications above the kitchen. In a perfect world, we'd begin by returning the dormers to the original configuration. And he was referring to above those kitchen ribbon windows, not the dormer that we modified. We're not looking at modifying those existing dormers. And then he's just asking us to keep him apprised of the work on the house. And it's a grand house. I hope the new owners enjoy it as much as the Clouds did. Thank you, Mr. Bergman. That ends the modifications we were asked to look at. We weren't asked to modify anything else. I do want to just show the landscaping plan, just to show that to you again. We had no negative feedback at all on the landscaping plan.
We don't have to go over elements that aren't.
Okay.
that
I just want to talk
aren't
a little bit about the gates real quick.
Oh, okay.
The two things, the existing gate that enters off of Wesley, we are not changing at all. And then the gate, the driveway that was to the west, all we're doing is just putting the bollards, and we're pushing them a little bit further up because of the landscaping. We don't want to destroy landscaping just for the sake of putting bollards, and so we're moving up a little bit to be sensitive to that. So, other than that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, we're going to take the staff report, and then we'll get back to you, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Staff identification of issues?
Thank you, Acting Chairman Ransom. Just a little bit of background for some commissioners who may not have been at the May meeting. This property is actually located outside of the historic district. In 2003, it was designated as a local landmark in the community. And as a result, modifications moving forward from that point are under the purview of the Historic Preservation Commission. Prior to that date, there appears to be several modifications from the original Stanley Anderson design. And I think the petitioner is working within those existing modifications and making some modifications on top of those to restore this home and modify the home for the current family. This property is one half of two properties that make up Twin Doors, as the petitioner mentioned. Both projects were before the commission at the May meeting. The project that fronts on Green Bay Road was approved at that meeting. The commission did ask for additional study of the porch enclosure and the subsequent building scale variance that results from that modification, the dormer windows that the petitioner talked about, as well as window configuration on the south elevation at the kitchen. I think that's the south. As the petitioner noted, I think that overall, the time and attention to detail that has been given to this project since the May meeting really has resulted in a better product. Looking back to the original design intent of Stanley Anderson has helped inform some of the decisions that are presented to the commission this evening. There are positive findings for both the enclosure, the window modifications, as well as the building scale request that's before the commission this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. That's my comments for this evening.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice to see that the petitioner has been so responsive to the commissioner's comments. The last meeting. I'm sure we have some questions. I think I'll start it off. First of all, pleased to see the original drawings. I was just wondering the source of those drawings. Do they come from Paul
Mr. Bergman had them, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had those all along, and like I said, you study something for so long, and that solution was right in front of us the whole time. We just, you look at it, and it's just
I
makes sense.
think one of the concerns some of the commissioners expressed last time, and you know, the Historic Foundation brings it up, is that porch, you know, has a certain rhythm of solids to voids, and that wanted to be preserved in some fashion. And I'm wondering how are these? It's not storm doors, but how are the new detailing windows and wall going to be mounted on that? Are the columns going to be preserved, I guess?
Absolutely. The openings as they are today, let me go to the photographs. So the openings, as you see them today with the pilasters and everything else, are remaining exactly as they are. The wall there is a fairly thick wall, and the doors will be set at the back end of that wall. So
Okay.
it looks, it's intended inset, which is where the original storm doors would have been.
Right.
Similarly, the railings that are currently present, they're staying. We're not removing those. We're gonna refurbish them, but we're gonna keep those in place. So it'll still have that porch feel that looks like it has the storm doors in place.
Okay, I like that. The windows, the new windows on the shed dormer, the large shed dormer that is unfortunately so out of place on this. How did you determine that configuration? It seems like we have 3 columns of panes there that isn't duplicated anyplace else. You know,
Well, yeah, the original dormer you can see is just a big, it's a big picture glass window with 2 flanking casement windows, and then there's a third casement window off over the gable entry that goes into the foyer.
and these are gonna be double hung, or?
So they're gonna be double hung, which is consistent with double hungs throughout. And we needed to make the windows big enough to meet light and vent requirements of for the space. So from a scaling point of view and getting rid of that monster picture window and bringing in the 2 double hungs mold together, along with the flanking shutters, we thought from a scale point of view, was a viable solution.
Yeah, being a little bit larger in scale with that broad dormer, I'm not sure that I would have an objection to that. I was just wondering how it was arrived at. And the Wesley gates, you said, are going to remain. Are they being rebuilt, refurbished, whatever?
Wesley gates and aluminum gates in great shape. Will be, if the pilasters are wood, if they need repainting and like everything else on the property, if it needs, updating with the paint, it's going to get repainted. But quite frankly, those elements are probably the best shape of anything on the site.
All right. That's all the questions I have at this time. Any other commissioner?
Yes.
Just a question on those same windows in the shed dormer again. You said there's gonna be a mullion in between, so they're 2 very narrow?
It's 2 windows. I don't think there was a double hung that was big enough to work. It just seemed out of scale with that. I know we had looked at it, and the 2 windows together, met all our requirements that we need to for that dormer.
Those narrow double hung windows are gonna meet your egress requirement?
I think they are. I think they're 2-foot wide windows, which do meet our egress, yeah.
Any other questions from any commissioner? Okay, seeing none at this time, I'd like to ask if there's any public testimony. Anybody want to come up and comment on the petition? Seeing none, I think we have a chance. You have no rebuttal to anything at this point, do you?
No, I think we've covered everything. Just
Okay.
like to thank the commission again for making us revisit it, because I think it ended up being a much, we're happier with the design solution.
Okay. Now's our chance to discuss and comment. I've made a few comments earlier. I think the petitioner has been very responsive to what the commission, direction the commission gave them last time. I like the solution with the fall storm windows that are, storm doors that are going into the enclosed, the open porch that is now going to be enclosed. I like to see that the process worked, that the petitioner went back and dug a little further and actually found something that's very historical to the property. So I think that's great. Anybody else?
I have 2 comments, I think. My first comment is on our desks, we found a memo from the Lake Forest Preservation Foundation supporting the redesign, as I read it, focusing in on the detail which the acting chairman elucidated, which was the placement of the well, they're not storm doors anymore, but the doors relative to the porch pillars. And that was a concern of theirs, and it seems as if things are being dealt with in the manner that they were hoping they would be dealt with. And the other thing I would say is that I had a particular interest in the relocation of the gate, and so I was very happy to see how that finally was dealt with.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing no further comment, would any commissioner have a motion at this time?
I prepared one.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Share it with us, John.
I move that the commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for additions and alterations to 365 East Westlake Road, including approval of a building scale variance not to exceed 29.04% over the maximum allowable bulk, a 4% increase from the existing condition, all based on the findings as stated on pages 1 through 5 of the applicable report by city staff dated July 24, 2013, and subject to the conditions stated in numbered paragraphs 1 and 2 on page 6 of the applicable staff report.
Okay, the motion having been made by Commissioner Travers, do I have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Commissioner Pruslak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the petition passed.
you.
Congratulations, good luck. Okay, the next agenda item is a consideration of a request for a certificate of appropriateness for a replacement accessory structure at 10 North Awani Road. If you petitioner's ready, could you identify yourself?
My name is Dennis O'Brien. I am the owner of the property.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien, thanks for being with us tonight. If you could give us your presentation.
I shall. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Give me a second to get the presentation.
This is nice.
We're in front of the commission to request approval for the replacement of the existing garage. We have lived in this house for 10 years. It's, as you can see, a English Tudor design, built in 1927. We've done everything we can to maintain the integrity of the property, principally the home. This is a view from the southeast corner of the lot. The garage is hidden behind the property. The garage is not visible from the street. The only property owner that has a true sight of the garage is our neighbors to the north. The main reason why we're requesting a replacement of the garage is it was deteriorating, but it took a great step in that direction when this oak tree hit it. And so now we're in a position where we cannot repair it and we have to replace it. As noted on this site plan, we met with the zoning board on Monday night and received approval for the new placement of the garage, which is in the northwest corner. As I mentioned earlier, it is not visible at all from the street. The property to the west is very heavily wooded, so it's really not visible by our western neighbor. Their home is almost 90 feet from the property line. The only other visibility is we're on a shared driveway with 3 homes behind us. They will see it as they drive by if they decide to look. Otherwise, the house is pretty much hiding it. This is a recent picture of the existing garage. As you can see, it's a brown clapboard wood structure. The house itself is brick. We are looking to replace this garage using the same materials. We'll have wood clapboard, roughly 8 inches in size, which is exactly the same as the existing structure. The garage door will be wood, as it is on the current structure. The only thing we've changed is the pitch of the roof. The current garage, its pitch is very similar to that pitch of the house. It's our preferred pitch. It's the height of the garage is roughly 21.5 feet. In deference to our neighbors to the north, and because our closeness to the property line, we're only going to be 5 feet from the property line, we currently have a design of a 10-12 pitch, which puts the roof line at 16 1/3 feet. The dashed line you see there is the existing roof, which is 21 1/2 feet. As I mentioned earlier, our original preference would have been with a 12-12 pitch, would have been about half the difference of the distance you see there. As I mentioned, we were intending to replicate the garage as it currently exists as best we can, using the same wood material as the exterior, same double door as you see here, and bring it up to code, including the foundation to current code requirements. That is my presentation for this evening. I respectfully request the commission to grant our variance for the construction of this garage, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
And we may get to that in a second. I forgot to ask, is there any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest? Just didn't think so, but okay. Staff report?
Thank you, Acting Chairman Ransom. Just to clarify, the request before the Historic Preservation Commission this evening is for a certificate of appropriateness for the design, materials, and overall siting of the replacement garage. The variance that was requested is a setback variance to allow the garage to be closer to the property line than what's permitted by code. That variance request was reviewed on Monday by the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the board did recommend approval of the request as submitted by the petitioner. With respect to the commission's review, the replacement garage is generally in the same location. There is some adjustment to the roof pitch, given the setback variances and the desire to really have it tuck back into the corner of the property, into the woods there. A lower profile is proposed. The existing garage is in need of repair, or of replacement. It is in severe disrepair. Given the fact that it's not a historic structure, it does meet the standards for demolition and replacement in the code. The proposed structure will have the simple forms that the petitioner showed, a very utilitarian level of detail appropriate for the proposed use as a garage. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but there are positive findings in your staff report to support this request.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, does any commissioner have any question for the petitioner or the city staff?
I do. I find the original pitch of the original garage preferable. Did you have any, neighbor problems with the original pitch? Can you explain to me a little bit why you decided to not duplicate the original garage?
Well, the idea was because we are only a 5-foot setback from the northern property line, we wanted to make it less visible to the neighbor. And if you look at this photograph, the closest structure to ours is our neighbor's garage, and they have a much lower pitch, so we were trying to bring the garage down a little bit. As I mentioned before, we'd prefer a little higher pitch, but we were deferring to our neighbor, though the neighbor has not made any specific request to us or voiced any concerns.
I prefer the original garage pitch. Can they do that? I mean, if you want to do that, can he go ahead with the original?
The zoning board did approve the location and profile of the garage as it's presented to the Historic Preservation Commission this evening. Certainly if a taller pitch is proposed, it would have to go back to the zoning board for reconsideration of the request.
I think that the new one is just a weaker design, it looks like, and it doesn't really fit the house.
Well, we certainly can discuss that.
Yeah.
Is there any-
May I make a
preferences?
comment?
Matching the pitch of the house, I think it's charming, but,
Do we have any other questions we want to ask?
I have a question. Or Jim, did you? Well, my question, Mr. O'Brien, if I may ask it, is why did you choose to locate the replacement garage within the setback so that variance was required?
The current location is the only location available really on the property. Looking at this photograph, the distance between the existing garage and the house is 13 feet. So we're limited to bring it to the east by only 3 feet to keep the 10-foot distance between the house. The rear setback, we put at 5 feet so that the rear, the northern part of the garage would be in line with the northernmost part of the house. So that was the best for that location, some symmetry with the existing house. To the east of the house, that would be making the garage very visible. It's not an English Tudor home or a garage. It would reduce the value of the house itself. It would not be in conformity with the neighboring homes. Our current east end of our home is right in line with the existing homes. And if we put it to the east, we have many mature trees we'd have to take down in order to put it there. And I think it would reduce the value of the property and be very inappropriate. So we felt that was the only location where we could put the garage.
May I follow up with a question, something I just don't know? When you're talking about the location of the replacement garage relative to your western boundary, as proposed, is it at this time within the setback?
No, it's not.
So on the western boundary, it's not within the setback?
Correct.
It is on the northern boundary that it's within the setback?
It is not within the northern or the western. We had brought that to the zoning board and they approved the placement. We cannot meet the western setback unless we bring the house all the way towards the south end of the property, which then would make it visible to the street. It would also make it virtually impossible to get in and out because of the shared driveway.
Since we're having a discussion about this, I was wondering if the city could comment whether the setback is something that the commission, considers as part of its purview, knowing that it's gone to the zoning board, which usually deals with these issues, and it has been approved, before we get too deeply into this.
Sure. The Zoning Board of Appeal, their charge is really to look at the requested setback variance, how far it is from the property line. I think in this case, the board was supportive of a lower garage pitch, the less encroachment than the existing condition. It's pulling the garage further away from the north property line, further away from the west property line. They reviewed alternatives on the property that really aren't feasible for various reasons. There's significant trees, there's significant grade changes. The garage would be highly visible if it was pulled in a different location. So the zoning board really looked at all of those pieces when they supported this project. The Historic Preservation Commission is looking at the design of the garage, the materials. The roof pitch is certainly something to consider.
And the roof pitch is specifically, linked to location, is what everybody's saying.
Not really.
Because it's so far back in the corner.
But there's no
Let's
problem from the
before we
neighbors.
get into discussion, let's get through our questions. And John, I appreciate what you're saying, and certainly if you have more questions, I just didn't want to get too deeply into it. So before the city had a chance to comment, so we know what we're supposed to be thinking about.
I have a question.
John, do you have anything else?
My question was merely, could you have brought the garage, since the nearest neighbor is the neighbor to your north, I guess, right?
That's correct.
Was there any particular design issue or location issue associated with moving the garage further to the south?
The main concern with moving it another 5 feet to the south, that would then put us in line with the setback to the north, would then it'd be blocking windows on the western part of the home. And so the view out of those windows would no longer be the woods to our west, but the garage.
Thank you.
I had a question just on the overall design. Sometimes we see petitions multiple times over the years, and just was curious if you had considered an attached garage concept that was, part of the home. Sometimes people like covering and not walking exposed, and just curious if that was an option, and that may bring up some other issues, but I was just curious if.
We did not consider it. The rear entrance to the home is, if you look at the, right here is the rear entrance to the home, so we would have had to, and the kitchen is located right here. In order to have an attached garage, one, you lose some light to the breakfast room that is in the northwest corner, because now you would lose windows there. You would also, there's a bedroom right above that. You'd also be losing the light space for those windows, so.
So you don't anticipate coming back with any?
No,
Yeah, this is kind of one and done.
yes.
Okay, thanks.
I have a couple questions. First of all, the garage, when I looked at it, it seems to have like a shed attached to the back of it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that coming down also?
Yes.
Okay.
The
was
original
hoping so.
garage is 20 and a half by 27, including that shed. We're going to have a 20 by 24, and there will be no shed on the back.
Okay.
So we've reduced the footprint of the garage.
And it's going to be further away from the northern
And for,
property line?
yes.
Okay.
The current garage is actually a half foot over the northern property line.
And if you could briefly go through the materials that are going to be used? If you know.
It'll be a clapboard siding garage using cedar wood, 8-inch, roughly 8-inch. It will be an asphalt shingle roof, similar to what's on there now, in the same coloration as the existing roof on the house, which is also an asphalt shingle.
Okay, and the roof line will now be 5 feet lower altogether?
Yes.
Top of the roof.
Mhm.
Is there any proposed exterior lighting on this garage?
There'll be simple, we're currently planning just, right now, the existing garage had a single light where I'm pointing to right now, if the pointer comes back to me, which we will be replacing, of course, at a lower level. No other lights are currently planned for the front of the garage. We'll mostly have a light on the side of the garage where the door is on the east exposure for access where an existing door is located.
So generally, there's going to be a light over the automobile garage door entry,
Yes,
and then the pedestrian.
correct.
Okay. Did you know, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Do we know what the design of that is, or?
No, we don't, we haven't selected that at this point.
Has the
It's-
city seen that or considered that in their recommendation, the lighting there?
We have not reviewed the specific light fixture. However, some lighting at the door entrances is required by code.
Okay. And is there anything further you think we should consider about that, or is there a condition we should put in approval if we are going to approve it regarding the lighting?
It's certainly appropriate for the commission to comment on the lighting if there's a condition that is appropriate. We often, or we always look to make sure that the source of light is shielded so that you don't have a piercing bulb exposed as part of lighting.
That will be
That's
done
part of our
during
standard
inspection,
process.
Construction inspection?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's good enough for me. Any other commissioners have any questions at this time? Okay, hearing none, do we have any public comment regarding this petition? Again, seeing none, now we have a chance to discuss this. Certainly hearing what Commissioner Swenson is saying regarding the pitch of the roof, it does nicely match the home and kind of ties the property together. I will say this, though, I'm not that married to it. When I went out there and inspected the property, I was kind of overwhelmed by the height and the brownness and the plainness of the garage. I kind of thought it was inappropriate just because it's so large, so brown, so plain without detail. I didn't think it tied the two buildings together. Now, you know, it might be appropriate to tell them to come back with something that's more detailed and, you know, a little lighter and, you know, could match the home more closely, but, the garage as it is, I thought was pretty much out of place for the size of the property and its location and just its huge brownness. So,
Yeah,
so those are my
yeah.
thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty nicely, Bill. I have the same feeling or had the same feeling. And I'm not so concerned with the setback. I think the ZBA works with the property owners, to rule on that. And I think it is the only logical place for a garage. And I think the same use of materials and the consistency of the roof and bringing the pitch down a little bit, I think may be a nice element. Now, if they were tied to the pitch of the roof and the neighbors were fine and they did something to add a little bit more detail to your point, I'd probably be supportive of it as well. But I think it's a good petition. I'm in support of it.
I don't think that the new garage design adds much to the house. I think that keeping the pitch consistent with the addition of a window, maybe above the door, maybe less brown, a new garage could be charming, and a nice extension, a logical extension of the house, instead of clearly a 1970s looking typical garage, which doesn't fit the house at all. So I'm really not in favor of the new garage.
John, how do you feel about this?
From my standpoint, I just wonder whether there aren't, obviously the garage needs to be replaced. It got hit by a giant oak tree and is racked, so. But I just wonder if there aren't solutions which would not encroach upon the setbacks and which might perhaps better further the objectives of the historic preservation ordinance.
Well, that's an interesting thought. I'm just trying to flesh it out in my mind a little bit more. You know, generally, the ZBA looks at certain criteria regarding setback that kind of has to do with, safety and light and, how the neighbors may view it, encroaching on their pleasure, and they seem to approve where it was at. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around and think about, what moving it would add to the historical context of this property if
Well,
moving it so
Yeah.
it's outside.
are we having a colloquy here? I'll answer you
Well,
if
this
you
is
wish.
time for discussion and
Okay.
comment, yes.
So then,
It's fine where it is, the neighbors haven't
then
been bothered so far. I think it's a fine
the
location.
reason given for the reduction in the height of the roof, which at least one of the commissioners feels is a detraction from the objectives of the historic preservation ordinance, is that a structure is so closely located to the boundary lines, or I guess presently across one of the boundary lines. And so that's, in my own mind, that's how this all comes into play as one complete set of facts, as opposed to something that you can decompose piece by piece by piece.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're generally not supportive of this petition at this point.
No, sir.
Okay. Bob, I'd like to hear from your thoughts on it, since it seems like we're split at this point.
Yes, well, as I understood it, the approval of that location by the zoning board was based on the fact that this was lower, that they felt it was going to impose on the property if
Mhm.
it was. So it doesn't seem like it would be successful at all if they went back with a tall garage.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding it. but
So am I hearing you're generally supportive of the petition as it's
Yes.
presented? Okay, then I think we have enough to move forward with the motion unless there's more discussion or comment.
Do you want a favorable motion or an unfavorable?
I'd like a favorable motion at this point.
Yes,
believe that's-
I move we support the petition as presented by the staff, subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Okay, the motion having been made by Commissioner Preschlack, seconded by Commissioner Alf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Nay.
Okay, the petition passes 3-2.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Our next agenda item is consideration of a request for the certificate of appropriateness for a second-story addition to the residence at 390 North Green Bay Road. Do any of the commissioners have any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest they'd like to disclose?
No.
Seeing none, if the petitioner could identify themselves and proceed. Do you mind if we take your model up here and take a look at it?
Please.
I love models.
Yes, we love models there.
And there's a rendering as well.
Yeah, you can give, Bob wants to look at it and pass it down. If you just give us a minute to play with it,
Yep.
just what we like to do. like
Sometimes
them
when
if
you
they're
have models, you
modular,
don't
so we
need
can move.
drawings.
We like them if they're modular, so we can redesign them.
Also color-coded.
We
New
brought
parts,
some,
old parts.
I have an X-Acto knife and we have some elevations, so we can start designing anytime.
Please don't get us started,
I
because
don't.
you don't want to open up that can of worms.
Okay. The under 400 square foot addition is on that left area, right?
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, okay. I might have colored it a little differently, but that's
No,
where
I
it
think
is.
we,
And the rendering actually highlights that portion right there, so you can see it on the model.
So this is with the old furnace? Oh, sorry.
yeah, you get to your question. We just want to hold it up.
You can
for
just,
a little
you
bit.
can just leave it up there, you guys want to?
Okay, if you could identify yourself and.
Yes, my name is Ted Eckhart. I'm an architect with Construction Design Architects in Mount Prospect, Illinois. Mr. and Mrs. Marshall are here this evening, the homeowners. Recently purchased this home and moved their family of 4 children into the house. This seems to be Stanley Anderson Knight. This is another home by the gentleman. The property sits on almost 2 acres. It's actually 1.938 acres, and the house is tucked up right up here in the corner. The principal views of the home, and I'm going to try to do this, okay. The courtyard entry is a wonderful view, and then, in fact, our work, we're not touching anything on this front elevation. The rear elevation is not the original home. This structure was added later on, and this structure was added later on. Our addition is over this portion right here. There's another portion of the house that you actually can't see, which I know we're probably going to talk a little bit about with some windows, which is around the corner and set back quite a bit. This is that portion here that sets back. When this house was designed by Mr. Anderson, it was designed specifically for a husband and wife. It could be classified as a 2-bedroom house. The master bedroom suite had a Jack and Jill bathroom between a master and then a sitting room, and then there was a guest bedroom with a bathroom, a grand stair. Downstairs it had open space, living, dining room, and a small porch, which later, morphed itself into that bigger thing that was on the left side. When Mr. Anderson designed this house, there's this wing right here was a servant's wing. And in all respects, it was downgraded in design. The ceiling heights are 1.5 feet lower. The hallways are about 3 feet wide. The kitchen was part of that design, and the current cabinets are there. They're flat doors, unadorned. It was specifically designed for an area not to be, visited by family, but by the servants. That might have worked for that owner, but our current owner has 4 children. They need bedrooms, and current living today is pretty much in the kitchen. And so we actually started out in working with Megan, and we had a substantial addition that we were going to design in here, a 2-story addition with a new basement and this big structure. As we got further down the road, it became apparent that that was probably not the right direction, and we looked at the space needs and determined that this house, as we're proposing it, is 6,536 square feet. It's plenty of house for the family. So I suggested to the Marshalls, why don't we look at preserving the footprint? No changes whatsoever, and I can reassign spaces inside, and there might be a modest addition on that west side, which is what we're doing, and it's turned out quite well. Some of the numbers, this property would provide for an 8,553 square foot house. We have 6,536. It would provide for a 40-foot high home. We have 26 feet 2.25 inches. The design intent that I work with the Marshalls was try to preserve as much of the house as possible. I didn't know much about Stanley Anderson. I started studying him and realized, okay, the house, this particular house is not a historic landmark. We're here because it's in the corridor, but it's a pretty cool house, and I've got to know it better and respect some of its geometry and its architecture and vocabulary. And so we have tried to replicate that in this addition. We've also, unfortunately, you can see it a little bit in this elevation. The homeowner later in the 50s and 60s put these screen porches on with big aluminum sliding doors, and they really are not part of the original design intent. So we, in our design, redesigned these elevations. We've attempted to kind of put back what probably should have been built. So let me get to the site plan here. So basically, our addition is right here. The original house did not have this screen porch. It's actually it's a 3-season dining area now, and then there was a little porch here that was added on later. I'm going to quickly go through these floor plans. There's a basement plan. These are in your packet. This is the existing first floor plan. This is the kitchen area here, where it's just, you can see at this is like a butler's pantry. There's a sink here, and there's a refrigerator, and then there's some more things in here. This is the back stair that goes up to, this is basically what's the servants' quarters above. The garage area is unchanged. This is the dining room. This is their living room, and this is the existing, it's like a family room area. This is a library that has a lot of built-in cabinetry. It's very charming. It's very cool. We're not touching that. So our redesign has this area becoming the kitchen and dining and gathering, family gathering area. The original kitchen is going to become a low-scale family area and TV viewing area. This is the TV wall here. You can see we wanted to keep circulation from the garage into a mud area. There's another mud area. There's a bathroom here that we need at the back door, which does not exist. There's only one bathroom on the first floor now. This is really cool stair going up. This will be the entrance into the living room. This room is being unchanged, and this is unchanged, except for we're fixing the window patterns that are here. And this is this area back here that really is out of the principal view here, and the principal view here is really are the best views. The existing second floor, as I described, this was the master bedroom suite, and this was the sitting room. There's a fireplace in here. The actual bathroom is here. There's some dressing here. There's a sit-down makeup area here. All this is pretty much intact. At this point, going this way, you can see how this narrows down. It turns this way. These were the two maids' rooms. This was the guest bedroom. So basically, this is one bedroom, and that's the other bedroom. We've reassigned this into a 4-bedroom, fully functional second floor, and we did this by the Marshalls, when they moved in the house, are in there now. They've kind of landed in this room, the sitting room, and called it their master, and it is actually where we're going to keep them. It is the best master.
Mr. Eckert?
Yes.
Could you focus a little bit more on the outside design?
I'd be happy to. Okay.
And if it relates to the interior, changes in the interior, certainly tie those two together, but if we could.
Okay,
if
then I'll
we
just,
get a little more on
exactly,
that.
I'll just touch on, this area is the master bathroom, and the windows are designed, the bathroom was laid out to make that elevation work. And then the only other thing I would call it, because we want to talk about it later, is this area right here, because I know I'm going to respond and talk to you about why these windows don't line up with the dormers above. And it's because we couldn't get it to work. We just didn't happen. So that's, I'll get to the elevations right away. Our original submittal on the elevations featured some elements that staff commented on that we actually responded to and brought revised drawings tonight to proportion the windows. We're adding some box trim underneath the windows to try to respond to that. The short side of the story is I think we've responded to everything positively except for one point. And that one point, which we're having trouble with, is the alignment of these 3 windows and those 3 existing dormers. The house has 21 dormers. We've been able to maintain an alignment in 18 of them. So we're not 100%, but plus this elevation here is set, in this flat elevation it looks like it's very prominent, but in fact if you look at the model it's way back and it's really not in view when you're out on the patio. You don't even know it's there. I'm going to flip to the revised elevations because that's what I'd like you. See, before, under these windows we had blank areas. The redesign, that's the existing, by the way. You see these big aluminum windows. They go bye-bye. Okay, this revised elevation, you can see on this door, there's a little panel here. This is the primary change here. You can see these are 3 foot, there's 9-footer windows. These windows up here are all 3-footers, so we're respecting the module of the window pattern. We have raised panels underneath there, and we're going to box these out, which we're hoping reflects the existing. These are actually doors. They're door windows. And as such, inside the home, when you open the window, you can't have furniture there because the doors swing into them. So while they're charming, the function of these rooms and the dining room, we don't want doors going to the floor and taking up space where we need to put chairs for the table. So in all respects, all the windows, even these 3 over here, we've box framed them to create this tall element that we see on the ground floor. And we think that this is an appropriate solution to the proportioning of the windows to match these lovely doors. Now the bay window is giving us some clues to the vocabulary. It has some box framing underneath it, and we pick it up over here. So we think that is a successful solution there. Again, these are reflecting entrances in the courtyard. This goes into the little family room, and this one goes into the dining room. They are the exact same elevation, so they kind of reflect each other. And here's our rendering showing the addition on the second floor. And I've actually, in this rendering, we've shown the box panels under here with our picture frame around it. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. We'll probably have a few questions for you after the staff presentation.
Thank you, Acting Chairman Ransom. This project, as was described by the petitioner, has no increase in footprint. It's a second floor addition above an existing one-story flat roofed area, and several modifications to the rear facades with respect to windows and doors. In general, the standards, there are positive findings in your staff report to address the standards for a certificate of appropriateness. Staff does recommend that the commission provide input on the proportion, the height and width of the proposed windows as revised this evening, as well as the alignment. Certainly there might be some mitigating factors with respect to perfectly aligning certain windows, in particular on that south elevation, and I welcome the commissioner's comments and thoughts on that. In general, I think it's important that the proportions and detailing do mimic the existing structure. It is a well-proportioned home, and the success of this project will rely on bringing that consistency to the rear elevation as well. So with that, we are recommending approval. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Well, does any commissioner like to have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you just maybe walk us through the south elevation window alignment issue? Was that driven based on the internal footprint and what you were trying to accomplish inside, or what was the?
This structure here is typically with it has actually appropriate coining to match in the other coins that were on the home. This one over here was built quite differently. It's close, but the proportions are different, and it was kind of messed up, and we're going to fix that. We had these big, giant openings with aluminum on both of these, and we wanted to give them the appearance of what original house might have been. This is the elevation that's facing west, and you can see that this is an existing coin that's there. This is all glass right now, aluminum windows. We're taking those out. We're putting back into stucco. By the way, the stucco is a baby blue. It's like a classic China blue. It's very difficult to see in photographs. You have to look carefully, but it's there. So the house is going to be repainted to match those colors. So we were trying to make, these are two existing tall windows in the library, and then we're picking up these windows next to it. You can see that rhythm and space is very similar, and we have, in the new addition, we're aligning the windows that way. The south elevation, the way I look at it, I look at, this is the real elevation of the south. This thing is really, doesn't come into play when you're staying in the yard. So we've got an element here that's the same there. We've got two the same, and we've got this beautiful center bay. So in my eye, this is working quite nicely. Along with our revised drawing, where we're picking up these panels to mimic and reflect what's happening in this bay window, so all these elements are kind of tall here. So that would be the thinking.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand the south elevation, the primacy of that, and I like the way you tied, the bay windows together. I was just more to the right on those three. Just, I know it's de-emphasized on the south elevation, and the model's a little bit different because you've revised the drawings.
Yes.
But I just wanted maybe just to hone in on, to the right side of the south elevation. You can see how, he's brought the bay
Yeah, the box.
there, the box, there, but just to the.
I can flip this. Do you want to see a
Could you need to use the microphone because
Well, I
this
think,
is,
I think the question I had was just, I know this is de-emphasized from the south, but could you just explain
Why that's happening?
why
Absolutely.
that's happening, and is it driven based on, It's lack of privacy alone, or was there something going on in the
It's-
interior that was
yes, it's-
causing you to have to solve it that way? That's all.
The interior is, in this case, the interior is driving the location of those windows. This is a bathroom here, so we want light and ventilation there. There's a heavy structure that's existing here, a concrete wall, that this was the old servant's porch, and it's a screen porch. And so we don't want to, I need to keep that wall there, and I need to get a bathroom in here, and we wanted to separate the mud entrance, and this is the stair that's going upstairs. When you walk in this house and you look to your left, there's this beautiful view, and I don't want to look at a stair, so we need this. In fact, there's a pocket door here that they can close this off if they want to. So now we're in this room, and this is the primary TV wall right there. So people will walk by here, and then there can be seating. So we couldn't put a TV here. We got an existing window here. We have a big opening into the kitchen here. So this is the only wall that's left for entertainment. And we needed space to do that. So that located these two windows here and here. So as much as I wanted to line them up, as I'm kind of a purist, like, you know, it should all line up. We couldn't make it happen. So the importance of the function of this room, in this case, dictated the location of the windows. And I would ask you to consider this one instance as one where maybe it was self-created, maybe it isn't, but we just can't solve it to get them to line up with the existing windows above.
Thanks. No, I appreciate the explanation.
I have one question about that family room, and I love what you're doing to the house, and I think it's a really pretty house. If it were my house, I would be tempted to let my kids run outside from that family room outdoors. Did you ever think of putting doors where those windows are next to where the television unit's going to be? And using that side yard just to be able to...
The marshals can answer that, or I can. You know, yes, we have schemes showing those doors there, but if we put doors there, then we got another point of circulation through a room, and the room becomes unusable. Because then I have 4 circulation points on all 4 walls. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
If you're going to speak, you need to use the microphone just because...
It was just
You're
kind
on
of a fun
TV.
thought that I was thinking, oh my gosh, I just would want to...
Hi, I'm Joanna Marshall. We did consider that, and we worked with the designer, and she actually had some windows and doors to begin with, but then we realized that from a furniture standpoint, we couldn't have the functionality because we needed to have windows above so we could put furniture in above. Because if you see in the corner there's a stack, so we can't really put furniture there. There's an existing window we can't move. So we struggled with where are we going to put a giant sectional for 4 kids to sit down and watch TV. So it took away the ability to maybe put 2 French doors there for the kids to run outside because we needed that bottom space.
Right.
To put toys and things and then put a TV in the middle. So we initially did try to do that. So
They
it
can
was a
just climb
good
out the
idea.
window. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And additionally, even in the dining room, did you ever think of popping windows out open on that side too?
Okay, so that's, I want to talk about that.
Okay, I just, this is
This-
a pretty house, I just want to pop doors out,
That is an
all over the
existing,
place.
first of all, the primary view for the house is this way and that way. This is very heavily wooded here, and this is actually, with all this glass here, there's the antique furniture, highboy goes here, and artwork. There's just no walls left. And we don't want it to become a terrarium.
Right.
And so
Yeah, that's true.
this design, it's interesting. This wall is there, and I guess they realize the same thing, that this house feels all about here. It doesn't feel anything about here. We did add, the kitchen designer and I arm wrestled over the need for a door here. And eventually came compromise so that you could get access out here because we weren't going to have a door here, and we have a door here. So the kids walk down here, come in this way, or if they want to go out to the yard and they don't want mom doesn't want them running through the dining room, they go right out there.
That's handy for catering too, though, if you would want to have caterers use that side patio, that side area for...
I have a question just on the window treatments and design in general. When you were exploring Stanley Anderson and his work, I mean, do you feel like it's fairly consistent treatment. You know, the city had asked us to maybe provide some input on that, and we may, as we deliberate, but I was just curious how his body of work and his design in general informed how you handled the treatment of the windows, in particular, after city's, feedback, and then
Sure.
how you created the
Staff's,
the new drawings tonight.
yeah, staff's comments were pretty much right on about the original design when we had stucco underneath these windows. And so we had a tall element, and then we had a horizontal element. I think we found a happy solution because we do need, we don't want windows going to the floor in these rooms. There's some energy issues and there's some furniture issues. So we created a visual way to solve to make these things look tall like the other ones. It's interesting, when Mr. Anderson designed this house, he really only designed this part of it. All these windows over here are little boxed out, punched windows. He didn't really take it the whole 9 yards, which surprised me. And later, the owner put these aluminum sliding doors in here, which was really disturbing. And I'm very pleased that the marshals are committed to spend significant money to put it back something close to what would have been there. It's not sure what he would have done here. He might have done a whole series of doors or something, but I think it's a happy mid-ground solution to a need for interior and responsive to the exterior elevation. So I think we've satisfied the standard and tried to immediately respond and bring drawings tonight so that you might consider an approval with this concept to make them look taller.
Just the question is all the new windows with the panels underneath, why was the choice not to have those just a little bit longer to hit that same panel height as the bays and the French doors? I mean, wouldn't it have been about-
I could pull, if we wanted to mimic we could stretch these down a little bit and skinny that up to make it look like that. I have no problem with that. Yes, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't, I think that's a good point, Bob. I didn't even look at that. That's, that would, match up very nicely if they made that change. I don't have a particular problem with the front facade or the facade of this main body of the south elevation, but, I'm having difficulty accepting the placement of the windows where they're at in that south elevation that's sticking out a little bit to the east. This property has a really formal rhythm as to the windows and their placements all the way around until you get over to that little corner there. And I notice you also have now moved the door to the exit door to the kitchen, so that's moved over and it's off the rhythm that existed before the changes. I guess my question to you, to me, this placement seems to be dictated, especially looking at the south elevation, mostly because of the powder room and where the TV is going to go. I'm wondering what's there now that's going to be changed. Is it empty? Is it?
It's. Let me go back to the photographs. It's left over. It's really it's just grassy area. There's some condensers that sit there. There's some window area wells. Is really.
No, in the interior.
Oh, what's there now?
Yeah. Because it seems we're pushing everything over because of the new family room.
The kitchen is there now. Laundry room, kitchen. One more. Okay. So this is a high window for the kitchen. There's a washer and dryer sitting here, and this was originally was a maid's dining area, and this is a little screen porch. And so it's
it was a really down design. It was difficult because we started with just tearing this whole thing out and making a whole big kitchen here, and it just was, it was really going to be difficult to make this addition work with the house. We also had talked earlier with Megan about a 3-car garage and abandoned that idea as well, and we're sticking with the 2-car. So we just, all of a sudden, we're really trying to leave the house alone as much as possible.
Yeah. Was there ever any solution, any interior redesign that left the windows where they're at on that south elevation, so you kept the rhythms that they have, and it is the same all over the
Well, we're taking this, the kitchen window would come out because it's a higher window and it's 3 windows in a row. We didn't have a solution where we could. You have to come up here, Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick Marshall, and that whole area, as Ted just described, is kind of a very utilitarian look and feel today. But as we try to fit the family room in, and then thinking about the egress and the family, we needed another powder room for our children and everything that's going on that side of the house. The only other bathroom on this floor is the very formal powder room on the far west side of the house, and we just needed to have a little bit more usage for our large family. And just the way the configuration worked in that space, as Ted described, and some of the views as to that long hallway look going through the new kitchen design into the family room, we just had to configure it that way.
Yeah, and I don't begrudge the utility. I understand with a family, needing those things. I'm just wondering if there is some type of other design which we could, keep the rhythm of those windows. I don't have a particular objection to their size and design. It's more the moving of that door and the moving of those windows. So you've broken the rhythm that seems to exist on the rest of the house without exception.
So this was the existing. So that was a window in the maid's dining. That's the kitchen window, and that was a window that was into the porch. Around the corner, it just wide open with screen door and so on. So there was, there was some alignment there, but we just couldn't maintain it, and we couldn't find space for the mudroom, and the bathroom really goes right here so that there's adequate space for the family room. The kitchen wall moved to the east about 3.5 feet to give it a decent sized family room. And the truth of the matter is that space was kind of leftover space because we really couldn't use it in any other way. So we decided this would be, this is the more ruckus place for the children, but this is the quiet area, getaway space. And you can see with this big concrete wall here, I've got it designed from here to there to take care of the windows, and I need 3 windows there, not 2.
How far was the wall in the existing kitchen being moved to create the family room? How many?
This moved about 3 feet from here over to there to get it wider.
And was any thought given of leaving the wall where it's at and just making the existing kitchen?
It's
the family
pretty,
room?
it's
And
pretty narrow. Yes.
Possibly opening up, the entrance wider, even, I don't know. Are those load-bearing walls? Can you get rid of those walls?
This one here is, and this one,
I'm talking the other wall on the west side of the kitchen.
this one?
Yeah.
There's a steel beam that goes from here right to there. And if you look at our design, there's a column right there, that point. There's a
That's
piece of
column,
steel.
so-
There's a column inside that wall. So
That's load-bearing right there.
this is load-bearing right here. And there's this piece of steel.
The interior ceiling heights have changed.
Yeah, yep. This is the point where the ceilings change. So this is 9 feet 2, and this is about 7 foot 11 in here. So it's a whole different feel when you go in there. And there'll be a header. There'll be a header here. So because this is a whole different place. It's a small place.
Yeah, I just find it really hard to lose that rhythm without, a full exploration of alternatives,
Well,
Anybody else have any questions?
I was curious if, and I'm not a Stanley Anderson expert, but just wondering if that's a signature style, and if Paul Bergman was here, or other people that really, study his design. Do you feel like that that symmetry is inherent and important to the integrity of his design, or did he have areas where he was more whimsical and allowed, different patterns to emerge in portions of the home? And I think we've seen a fair number of eclectic designs in front of the commission over the years. I mean, I don't want to get into deliberation, but I'm just curious if you had any interaction with Paul, or,
We have,
If
we
you-
got original drawings from him.
yeah.
The whole set of working drawings from him.
Okay.
And that's
And did
when I
he have-
discovered that, the additions that came later.
Yeah, so did he have any
I didn't have a conversation with him.
comment
Just got,
on this dilemma, or the integrity of the windows, or the treatment?
I
or
haven't
sort of
inter-
solving it?
I haven't interviewed him.
No, if you got the designs from him, I'm just
Yeah.
curious if you had any interaction with him,
No.
trying to help you.
You can see that this is the existing elevation, and he has inconsistencies in this area here. There's no window over that one. On the east elevation, there's no, he doesn't put a window under there. This is the big blank wall that's sitting there now. So you can see there isn't, it isn't like there's 100% conformance in this concept.
And I see that, I
Yeah.
recognize that, but there is, there is consistency when there is an first floor and a second floor window.
Right.
And of course, that big blank wall, we know that's the addition that,
Yeah.
somebody, that Stanley Anderson didn't.
He
put
didn't
in.
design
And
that.
it's painted blue and
It's a different color blue. I can't quite figure out why that is either. It's like,
But,
We're gonna
you know,
fix
you're-
that.
You're also, you have this up existing, you're moving that door, so that's not gonna align any longer. I don't, those are my questions, and those are my, I'm not sure what the resolution is in my mind, but I just have a problem with it. Does any other commissioner have any questions at this time? Hearing none, do we have public comment? Okay, having no public comment, it's time for us to deliberate regarding this. I think everybody kind of knows how I feel. I think there's I don't have a problem with any of it. I like the solution with the box paneling underneath these wide windows. They give a lot of good detailing. I think Bob's suggestion is certainly something that the commission can talk about. I could go one way or the other, but I do have a problem with the alignment where I was discussing it. I don't know what the resolution is. And I would think that, I guess I haven't heard a lot of,
I can keep
a lot of
talking.
different alternatives. I don't hear that the petitioner has looked at a lot of different alternatives.
Oh, we
I
have.
think
Oh,
it would-
we have dozens of designs in that area, and their interior designer, Furniture Guru, she has a friend that's a TV designer, and she flew in from Los Angeles for 2 meetings, and we worked that area. I could show you lots of sketches. If I could, wouldn't it be easy for me to come in if everything lined up? It would be a slam dunk, but I just don't know how to do it
Right.
and make the inside work.
Maybe I should have said, I haven't seen a lot of different alternatives in the
Right.
petition, so I'm not sure in my mind that.
That was a
this is-
mistake. I could have shown,
Yeah.
been prepared more
That-
for
that's
the
okay.
argument.
You know, it's time for our deliberation, and, you know, there may be some direction for you. You may
Okay.
get approval, you may get, so we'll just, you know, I'm just expressing my opinion at this point. You know, I didn't see a lot of different alternatives in here. Maybe all the alternatives were explored, but I'm not feeling comfortable right now approving the petition with this type of alignment. That's my feelings on it. I'm sure the other commissioners have their feelings on it that they can express.
I don't
Well,
mind it, I don't, oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, I think, I mean, to me, I don't think how many alternatives were considered is really primacy here. I think this is the preferred scenario that an owner that's putting a lot of effort to design a structure in keeping with the historic character of the architect and the community, while balancing the needs of their growing family or their large family. So to me, it's how much degrees of freedom do we have as a body, given that we're externally focused and design consistent. How much degree of freedom do you get to maybe violate a rule of external symmetry to foster use that is conducive to a modern family and the desires of a homeowner, which are things that we deal with all the time. So I would counsel us to not look at just one dimension here. It's really, to me, about trade-offs and balance and primacy. And, I say sometimes that Market Square is, it's not a museum, and, there's no perfect here, right? We need to kind of have some flexibility to consider things, and the spirit in which the petition has been brought forth, I think, is a real value add to the property and the community. So I'm reluctant to pour cold water on it, because there's 3 windows at the micro that aren't where we want them to be. And so I feel like I'm okay with it. It's not perfect, but there's no such thing as perfect, and we have to make some compromises to foster these types of projects from happening. So I would lean towards supporting it.
I don't think it's a dominant elevation. I don't mind a little irregularity. I think that overall, the plan is lovely and is a huge improvement in the home, and I'm really happy that you're doing it. I don't mind a little irregularity on one side that's, a wall that's set back from a main facade. I think it's just fine.
John or Bob?
I agree with Jim. It's difficult to achieve everything you'd like to achieve and still make it function. I think that's not as much as doesn't look as nice as you'd like it to. I think you have to accept some functionality to it. And again, I still would prefer to see the sill line move down on all those new windows on that side too.
Do you want to make that a condition, or would you like them to work with us at the staff level with that?
I would prefer to make it a condition. I don't think it's a very complicated thing to do.
Okay, well, I think the petitioner has indicated that they'd be open to that being a condition for the petition, so, if there's any negative thoughts about it, can I hear it now? Okay, I think we can add that as a condition of approval, then to lower the sill line so it matches up along the south elevation of the, I don't know what you call it.
Well, it matches the bay and
The bay matches the two
Is that across the house, Bob? Are you concerned about the same elevation in the
I would
north?
recommend it be on all the ones that he's installed the panelized
Mhm.
look underneath, so that it would be consistent.
On the west and the
No,
south
I
side.
think the petitioner is open to that. Okay, so we'll make that a condition of approval if we approve it.
I-
Is that all?
Uh,
Okay, anything from you, John?
My only comment was that the Historic Preservation Foundation provided comments on this, and that they echoed the staff's concerns about the size of new windows, and I think very much in the terms that Bob has addressed with his suggested solution. And I think it's noteworthy, while the discussion of the non-rhythmic windows is obviously valid, it is not mentioned by the Historic Preservation Foundation as something. I'm sorry. As something that
I
they,
can take it.
as something that they specifically object to, I believe.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we have enough support to get a motion for approval. Would somebody like to make one with the condition that Bob has?
I tried to prepare one.
Great.
Should I do it?
Sure.
So I move that the commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for additions and alterations to 390 North Green Bay, based on the findings as stated on pages 1 through 3 of the applicable report by city staff dated July 24th, 2013, and subject to the conditions stated in numbered paragraphs 1 and 2 on page 4 of the applicable staff report, and subject to the further condition that the window proportions and alignment of first floor facade alterations incorporated in the design of the addition and alterations be modified to incorporate the following. 1, the length of replacement windows on the south and west elevations will be lengthened so that the height of the panels beneath the windows will match the height of panels beneath the existing bay windows.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Preslack. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay? Okay, your petition passed. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Okay, now we have an opportunity for the public to address the Historic Preservation Commission on non-agenda items. Is there any member of the public who would like to do so? All right, do we have anything further from the staff tonight? Okay, hearing nothing further, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much.